long time ago. I still remember, actually, the first thing I ever wrote that was dramatic was a screenplay way back when, which was actually a Star Wars parody. But I mean, I was in middle school, I was like 12. But I think from then on, I knew I was going to end up writing dramatically. My father was a Bad B movie scriptwriter, so he wrote like The Saucer Women from Venus and The Night Before the Return of the Living Dead Space Zombies from Outer Space Part 9, The Return, which was never made, unfortunately. But because I grew up with him, I very much grew up in a house that was at least some writing going on. That was the aspiration somewhere. And as I grew up, I found myself absolutely in love with the theater. And the theater, I actually wrote 2 one-acts for high school productions, which were both produced and won a few festivals here and there. And then when I ended up at the University of Wyoming, which is actually where I really wanted to go to school because they have a wonderful theater program, they are one of the few, I think they were one of 8 at the time, universities that did a playwriting program there. And so I'm one of the few schools that can do a bachelor's degree, a Bachelor of Fine Arts in playwriting. There, I trained with William Missouri Downs, who is a professional playwright. And along the way, I worked with Stephen Dietz a little bit, who now teaches at UT Austin, and Elaine Romero, who wanders about the world doing commissioned plays. But they were both wonderful, and I owe quite a bit to all 3 of those people. In terms of why I like to write, or why I write, I don't know. I think it's a difficult question, I think, for any writer. We all make some crap up on the spot. But I think for me it became very much, I've always been something of a teacher. And I know it's always an impulse that's hidden in theater, for good or ill, is to use theater educationally. I think that can be a very negative thing. I think you can end up with plays that are very much issue plays or attempting to simply sway the audience to a particular point of view. But I also think there's good qualities there. Like, a good teacher doesn't indoctrinate you, they open you up to different possibilities. In a lot of ways, actually, they do something very scary to you. They open you up to not knowing what is right, to taking an issue which you have always thought was very simple and exploding it, or taking the floor out from under it. I think in my work, philosophy and playwriting go very much hand in hand. Whereas the purpose in philosophy is to deconstruct, to take apart, to question why assumptions work the way they do. I think my plays are very similar. It makes it very difficult writing them sometimes, because I often find myself taking them apart as I'm going. But I think a good play absolutely gives an issue to an audience and says, here is a problem, here is a horrible thing, here is a wonderful thing, and it needs to be explored and exploited and taken apart and dealt with.